Hey everyone, Rob from Southgate Media Group here. Before we get started with this podcast, we have a quick message. If this is your first time checking out the show, we love that you found us and we really hope you enjoy it. What we have to say is for the subscribers. If you enjoy our shows, would you please donate to help keep these going? We don't want to have to put traditional ads on these shows, but this does cost money. So we really do rely heavily on donations. To make a donation to the show, please go to our website, www.southgatemediagroup.com. Go to the page for the show, and in the upper right-hand corner is a donate button. It takes you right to PayPal, and you can donate whatever amount you want. Thanks a lot for listening, everybody. And now, on with the show.
And I'm Ricky.
Up for discussion today is episode 203, Kindred. Not sure that that's an appropriate title for this episode or not.
I don't know. In the season 1, like episode 3, they at least were kind of building up towards stuff, and this just kind of felt like another recap of. Well, the next 2 episodes kind of feel a bit too recappy in some of the way that they tell the stories, but we'll get into it as the episode goes on.
Yeah, we're still scrambling at this point to make the season coherent.
We still don't know whether the writer's strike's actually going to happen at this point, I'm sure. So they're just trying to pad it out until stuff goes on, but yeah.
So, you got a synopsis for us, Ricky? I know you do.
Of course I do. Peter tries to get his identity back. Mohinder makes a shocking discovery. Claire trusts her secret with West, who has a secret of his own. Nikki and Micah separate and move on with their lives. Maya does what is necessary to free Alejandro in the quest to go to America. Hiro sends a message to Ando in the future about his journey with Kensei.
Okay, can we just talk about how Maya's quest is just even way more messed up than Hiro's quest? They just don't know how to do epic quests.
I know, right? It's like at least in the first season, all the stories kind of, you could see where they were going, and you could see like a kind of not a jumping off point, but like a meeting point. Whereas these kind of, like especially Maya's kind of quest just seems totally separate from like the rest of the show at this point. Like you can map, if you had like a bubble, you've got like a bubble which contains every story going on at the moment. You got this little bubble on the corner that has nothing to do with it, not even towards the end. Like, we obviously know that it was meant to have something to do with it, but even at the beginning, you couldn't see where it was going to go. And by the end of it, obviously, because of the writer's strike, they couldn't fix it. So, yeah, whatever.
Moving right along. We get an introduction to some more Dawson people. And one of them happens to be one of my favorite people and also another Star Trek alum. But, she got the short end of the stick. I was just like, how do you just introduce her and not do anything with her? You bastards!
And I don't know whether this is the cousin that Micah was talking about in season 1, who all he ever does is eat.
I'm pretty sure. He was pretty huge for an 11-year-old, all I'm saying. Okay, let's get started with the breakdown of this episode. We open on Peter's stupid little face in the Wandering Rocks bar, and he's making a deal with the other Ricky to get his identity back. And then, in the background, Peter hears a guy named Will's thoughts about stealing the lockbox money after the robbery.
That Will is from Star Trek as well. He's like a little side. I think he's like one of the second in commands. I can't remember his name, but I have seen him at one of the Comic-Cons for a Star Trek. He's in a Star Trek panel, so I'm sure he's from Star Trek as well. I'll try and pull him up while you carry on talking about it.
So yeah, Peter mentions it, and it's a true Matt Parkman moment. Nobody believes him. You didn't hear him? No, obviously nobody heard him, or everybody would be upset like you, Peter. And then Ricky gets all upset, and he's like, this is my brother, I don't know you. The nerve! And I'm like, we cut to Mexico, and we see Alejandro telling Maya that she needs to rest. He breaks the window of a Cadillac, But then the police officer sees it, and the officer chases the two down and catches Alejandro. Really?
It's not the damsel in distress, at least, but she does do a lot of crying, so she might as well just be the damsel in distress the whole time. But yeah.
Yeah, we'll get to more on that, I think, in the next episode. Then he tells Maya to run, and I'm like, you actually had to tell her to? Okay. Cut to Vegas, and we finally meet up with 2/3 of the Sanders.
Oh, actually, no, there's one more thing I've got to bring up about Maya and Alejandro, is the fact that they are somewhere in Mexico. It's like they couldn't even look on an atlas where they were. They were just like, you know what? We're lazy writing with them, so we might as well just put them somewhere in Mexico.
Oh, heroes. Anyway, we see they're talking about the Sanders sisters are talking about leaving Las Vegas. Micah doesn't want to leave, but Nikki insists. She says that they need to start a new life. And we see that they're at Dio's tombstone, and Micah's placing flowers on it. And I was like, for the life of me, I'm like, wait, what? I don't know why I blocked this out, but I always forget every single time. Because it's just so open-ended, I guess.
I also think, especially where he was at the end of season 1, you kind of expected him to be dead at this point, but you don't really know.
But it was Hiro! So you're like, he's alive, obviously.
So yeah.
Cut to a pretty beach with a pretty redhead taking a phone call. She's talking very vaguely, playing the pronoun game. But very shortly after that, we cut to Siler, who's starting to wake up. He's like, where am I? And I'm like, yeah, where are you? And the redhead says her name is Michelle and that they're in Maui. She says that her name was Candace and decided to change her name and appearance after she drugged him from Kirby Plaza. Yeah,
because Missy Peregrine got Reaper at this point, I'm assuming.
That was on the CW, wasn't it? She should have just stayed with Heroes, let's be real. I think that show actually got 2 seasons, though, if I remember right.
Yeah, it was a decent show. It wasn't like that
was
bad.
Like
but
early CW, too, right after the Nerds. I would have never taken a job there, personally. But anyway.
But, it was lucky that she was playing the illusion casting shapeshifter that they could just recast without, without having to bother about explaining it that much. But yeah.
They would have pulled a Matrix at any rate, whatever character it was.
Exactly.
So yeah, then she tells Siler that he has stitches from being stabbed and shouldn't move. And he's like, where are my stitches? She goes, well, I create illusions. And then he's like, show me what's really going on. So we see him in this room and he's all wrapped up. God, I hate this subplot. But anyway, we cut to Claire in Costa Verde reading Activating Evolution, and Noah mentions that Sandra's making waffles, probably with chocolate milk.
Yes, because chocolate milk makes everything better.
Noah apologizes for talking to her the way he did at Coffee Kingdom and offers her help. Claire asks what would happen if someone found out about her, and he says they'd probably have to leave and go completely into hiding, forgo jobs in school, and as a worst case scenario. And then we cut to Creeper West at school, and she's like doing a bad job of lying, and she's like, just stay away from me. And I'm like, yeah, West, just stay away from her. Creeper, this is not romantic at all, young girls out there. It's not a good sign. Anyway, we cut to Matt, who wakes up while Molly's asleep, and he hears something, so he grabs his gun and he heads into the kitchen and almost shoots his husband, Mohinder, who's just 50 feet. So then Mohinder's like, yeah, I'm home for good. I'm going to be working downtown. And then Matt's like, dude, you're not supposed to do your spy work where you live.
Yeah.
And then Molly hears Mohinder, and she comes in and she gives him a big old hug, and I get all jealous of Molly.
I remember watching this and just seeing the well, not really even subtle, but the My Two Dads kind of scenario where I was just thinking at the end of the series, or at least at the end of season 2, that they were just going to kiss and nothing was going to be said, and it wasn't going to be this big coming out for Raw. It was just going to be 2 guys living together who just so happened to have adopted a kid and were in love, and that was it. I remember thinking that the whole way through, and I was kind of disappointed when they kind of split up in season 3. But it brought us Daphne, so I kind of like Daphne. So yeah.
Oh my god, dude, so serious. This was the ship that it was a crack ship, but you kept thinking it might happen because they were an old married couple already.
And it just had to be one of those things where they just kissed, and it wasn't a big thing. It wasn't like a swell of music or anything like that. It was just like they kissed and they just carried on, and nothing else was said about it. Like not even like Peter's like in the room and he just sees them and he kind of gives them like a weird look. It's just kind of like, oh, okay, they're just together. Fair enough.
Okay, that's happening. Okay, so we cut to Ando at Yamagato Industries, who in lieu of porn is playing a video game.
Yes.
But he's interrupted by his boss, who drug Hiro by the ears.
Yes.
At one time. And I'm like, wow, Japanese corporate culture, yikes. His boss mentions that him being friends with the CEO does not mean that he gets to play games at work. So Ando apologizes profusely, of course. And then he goes to open a file and finds Hiro's sword. And then he like starts shaking it and he hears something. And then he sees something that says, Ando open. In it he finds several scrolls. And it's like little pen pal letters from Hiro. Tells him that he's in 1671 where he met Kensei. Hiro tells him he must stay to make Kensei the man they know, and he mentions that Kensei has a great power.
This is where we have like recap city of everything that's happened to Hiro, and it just kind of feels like a needless kind of way of telling a story and keeping Ando involved.
Yeah, basically, that's the only reason why it was done this way. Guess you shouldn't have killed George Takei, huh?
Exactly. But I think it's the same with like all the quote unquote overpowered people at this moment. You've got like Peter and Ando, and both their stories. No, Peter and Hiro, sorry, but both their stories kind of feel like a waste of time at this point in time. Like just the way that they're going on and the way that they're being told. Because first you've got like Hiro having this recap city, and you've got Peter who's just trapped in Ireland with all these people with really bad Irish accents, and you know it just feels irrelevant. And sure they kind of pick it up like later on, and they kind of, not, I wouldn't say make sense, but you know they kind of get away from it. And at least in Hiro's point of view, like the story kind of does have some kind of relevance towards the end of the season. But at this point in time, like they just feel really underserved, I suppose. Even though they're like the most powerful people on the show, they're being backed up with this really poor storyline. So yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. Speaking about being totally underserved, after Hiro kind of talks about Kensei and how he found out how he had the power or whatever, we cut to Peter, who is literally just calling out his powers like he's a Power Ranger.
Shirtless, I'm sure, as well, right? Just completely unnecessary, but you know.
So yeah, Caitlin's like asking how it works. He's like, I don't know. Do you think I would be calling it out like an idiot if I didn't? And then he says, even though he has this power, he feels powerless. And Caitlin's like, maybe you're an alien. And I'm like, maybe you're related to West. That's why you're so damn annoying and creeperish. She's anxious to see him get his identity. He asks how he can trust her, but she reminds him that she hasn't told anyone about his ability. Cut to somewhere in Mexico. Alejandro is in jail, and he sees his mugshot while being arrested. But of course, the cops are lazy and don't care. And Alejandro's then put into a cell, and then there's this white dude who tells him he looks like ass in English, and then Alejandro tells him he doesn't speak English. He actually says English instead of Inglés. Like, if you actually speak any English, you would have just said Inglés. So I know the trick. Then we cut back to Costa Verde with Wes and Claire in science class, and Mr. Zern wants to talk about mitosis, but of course Wes wants to talk about what if a lizard and a human breeded? Because yeah, that makes you look cool, Wes.
Well, he's an alien, isn't he? He's not a robot. He thinks outside the box. Well, that's what he thinks anyway. But yeah, what better way to get a girl to like you than pointing out that she's a freak to her in front of a whole class, basically. Yeah.
You know what it was to me why I just really didn't like Wes, especially with this scene? It's like he wants to belittle Claire to lower her so that he can get her. That's what this whole Wes thing has felt like, and I just don't like it.
He's just negging her. He's read the book, The Game.
At least he wasn't peacocking with Tom Hardy, because Tom Hardy was huge at this time, so we can be thankful for that.
Exactly.
After that, after Claire storms out, we cut to Ando, who's still reading that damn letter. And then Hiro's talking about how he's in love with Yako. But, of course, she's destined to be Kensei's love. And then we kind of fade into the actual scene, and Hiro sees Kensei cutting himself. And Kensei is just so fascinated with his wounds being able to heal. And then Hiro tells him he has a power, too. And, of course, he demonstrates it in his happy-go-lucky manner. And they kind of get into this philosophical question about, how is this possible? And Hiro says, some say it's a gift from God, others say it's evolution. And he's like, what's evolution? I'm like, yeah, you're just a couple years early for that one. Kensei suggests that he can be richer than the Pope from all the duels since he's unstoppable. And Hiro's like, damn it, Kensei! You're supposed to be a hero. Let's go to this battle.
I do like the fact that the first thing he thinks about, Kensei at least, is money, because it's in his character at that point of time, because he's a con man, and he obviously just wants to make money, and he just gets dropped off, just randomly gets dropped off at 90 Angry Ronin.
Cut back to Claire as she sits alone outside. Wes comes to talk to her, and she just starts yelling, and then he literally tells her to shut up and kidnaps her. Right?
Yes. At this point, Claire's story, just this quote unquote romance with West is just, it just feels really soap opera-y. It doesn't feel like a kind of sci-fi kind of feel. It doesn't have that kind of sci-fi feel to it. It just has a straight up something that the OC or one of those teen dramas on the CW would do. That's what it feels like at this point. And, it just is really weird and feels kind of out of place. And the fact that she falls for it is very Oedipal. So, yeah.
On so many levels.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, we cut to a car where Caitlin is telling Peter to be careful because they're heading out to rob that sports bar, or the sports book, actually. Two guards are ambushed by Ricky, Will, and Tuco. As Peter distracts them, Ricky and Will pull guns on the guard with the lockbox, but the guard hits an alarm. Ricky knocks him out, and the boys run away as the two guards fire at them. Peter, moves an armored truck at them to block the guard's line of fire and runs into the car with Caitlin, and after he yells to drive away, even though she's a getaway driver.
Man. Yeah.
Oh, God, that was a mess. Finally, we get back to some cool stuff with Mohinder, who arrives at Isaac's loft, and Bob's reading the Ninth Wonder. Anyway, Bob tells Mohinder that Siler killed Isaac, and now the company bought the loft to outfit it with lab equipment for Mohinder, and I'm like...
Lazy.
Not only lazy, it doesn't look... A, it doesn't look scientific-y enough, I guess, and B, it doesn't look, sterile enough. So I'm just okay.
Well, they need, some reason for Mohinder to be able to see the paintings at this point, and that is the way they've done it.
Yeah, I know. I was just me no like you. No bueno.
Yeah.
Anyway, Bob further explains that the company is observing him for both Mohinder and the company's best interest, and tells him he's part of the family now. And I'm like, oh, shnikes. Just don't die, Mohinder. I remember literally thinking that. In Japan, in old-timey Japan, Hiro tells Jaiko that Kensei is coming back. And she's like, I want to trust him, but he seems like two men. So I'm like... She recalls being under the cherry blossoms and how she felt when she came home. And then Kensei walks in full armor up to the two and takes off his helmet, holding the fire scroll.
And he's not angry at all at Hiro just dumping him with 90 Angry Ronin. He's just like, yeah, I'm a hero now. That bit felt...
Which means presumably he probably died at least 50 times?
Yeah, and I'm sorry, you've got 90 Angry Ronin fighting you. I'm sure some of them are going to at least try and chop off your head at some point, but whatever.
I know. Convenient plot point. Or Hero's logic.
There we go.
Because it's season 2.
Yep.
So then, as they're kissing, Hero's like, aw.
Awkward.
I'm gonna marry that girl. Screw that guy. Back in the Sanderses, catching up with them, we find that they're in New Orleans. Katrina thing. So I was just like, oh yeah, that was a thing.
Season 1 was 9/11, and this is Katrina. Season 2 is Katrina. So yeah.
Yeah, I was just like, oh god. I just remember because I felt bad because I tweeted, like, I totally forgot about this, and I tweeted, man, their neighborhood looks busted. Why is Nikki dropping him off at this neighborhood? And then I was like, the next episode, I was like, oh damn it, that was so insensitive. But anyway, so Nikki's telling Micah, yeah, don't use your powers while you're here, and he's like, what's the point of having abilities if I can't use them, Mom? And she's like, this is your chance at a normal life, and normal people won't understand. Of course he doesn't want to go live with people he knows, but she's like, I'll be back, and then we'll be together, and I have to do this, Micah. Micah's like, that's what you always say before you do something stupid, Mom. Well, he didn't say stupid, but that's what he meant. And they hug. Nikki knocks on the door, and of course Nana answers, and I'm like, So, cut to Maya, who's outside an alley of the prison. Oh, God, I don't even want to talk about this dumb as hell scene, but anyway. She walks in, and she's like, you arrested my brother. I want to take him out. And he's like, yeah, it's 2,500 pesos. And she's like, I've got $14 American. And I'm like, yeah, the conversion rate is pretty crappy, but it's not that. She's like, I'm sick, and we're trying to get to America. And he's like, so you have traveling papers? And so she starts getting frustrated, and then she sees the mugshot. And so she pulls it down, and she tells him that she's a murderer. And then they subdue her. And of course, she cries black tears of goo.
I don't know how I see this whole storyline, at least this part, because to me, she's just a straight up villain at this point, because she knows that she's gonna cry the black tears of goo, and she's gonna probably try and kill. Or some people may die, but she doesn't really care because she's trying to save her brother, and it's some weird morals. Like the morals are a bit all over the place here. Yeah, at the same time, it kind of is setting her off on like a
To quote Hannibal, it's not about morality; it's about morale.
Yeah.
Or we're only purely worried about aesthetics. Take your pick from the season opener. Yeah, that's how pretty much Hiro feels at this point. And I totally agree. And I think it was to show that she's just so great, even though she doesn't want to be. Obviously, she thinks this is her gift's a bad thing.
Yeah.
That's why they're headed to America. But I think she slowly starts to embrace it. Goes, well, if it's convenient.
At the same time, she's essentially this season's version of Ted Sprague. She's that kind of character who has power, which can really do a lot of damage and sees it as a curse. But you feel they've given Ted a sympathetic backstory in line with his powers. The fact that he feels bad about killing his wife, and you still kind of feel for him even when he's upside down begging for his life and Silas cutting his head off. But Maya, you just don't. They haven't done much for her at this point apart from make her cry a lot, even whether or not she's crying tears of black goo. So
yeah. I mean, I think they probably wanted to make Alejandro the more sympathetic character because they just really, honest to God, cannot write female characters consistently for a long period of time. So I feel like, but then when you realize what happens in the next episode or whatever, it makes more sense that it was Maya that had it. You know what I mean? It is what it is. Anyway, they take the white dude that was in the cell next to him because he has a car that's not his. It's a neon road with a Costa Verde bumper sticker, just saying. So they do, and that's just what they do. Yeah, so they hit the road with this dude, and I'm just like, no.
Yeah. They go outside to the car, which is conveniently parked outside with the keys in it.
In Mexico. Somewhere in Mexico, the keys are in the car. Sure.
Yeah.
We cut to Cork, Ireland, where Ricky is opening the lockbox and drinks a pint as Will actually pulls a gun on Ricky like Peter predicted. Will shoots him twice and then threatens to shoot Ricky as well. Suddenly, Will is thrown against the wall and the bullets shot at Peter fall from his chest. I guess he's pulling a clear. Then he's also simultaneously pulling a Siler by choking Will telekinetically.
Yeah, it's a bit weird. He's very Siler at this point.
Yeah, because Caitlin yells at him to stop, and he was really he had that Siler smirk on. I'm like, yes, this could be interesting.
Yeah, I know. It's like he's pulling the force choke on him, and yeah, maybe they're trying to say something about too much power, whereas also at the same vein, Siler doesn't have any power at this point, which we later find out. But
so Will gets up and runs away. Ricky's like, what the hell just happened?
Yeah.
Then we just totally stopped that scene to get back to Hiro and his BS. Ando's still reading that those damn little scrolls and talking about Kensei.
Yeah, there's a lot of story on those
I
little
mean, I'm
scrolls, isn't
saying,
there?
I know, like, the Japanese language is like, they're symbols, but those were just not that enough symbols to be telling this long ass story.
Yeah.
The hero's like, he wanted to go, but then he realized that, no, he told Kensei that he thought he might have broke the pass and he needs to go as soon as possible.
He believes at this point that he's led Kensei back on the path to what he needs to do, but obviously he can't because he's a jealous little hero.
I know, and I'm like, dude, every chick you love dies. Just let it be, Hiro.
Yeah.
You would think you learned your lesson the last time.
I did like the little kind of shout out that they had to Hiro and Yako when the reason why, like, literally just as he decides to stay, he turns round and Kensei's like shaking the cherry blossom tree on her, and she's loving it. And yeah, no, that's obviously one of the big reasons why he stays.
He's like, that's our thing.
Yeah.
And then he's like, can't leave. So he like literally goes to run to be a cock block. He's like, wait for me. Then we cut to Siler, who's looking at a coffee cup. Of course, it's always a coffee cup. And he can't move it with his mind.
Yep.
And, like, Michelle's, like, serving him breakfast. And it's just this really weird thing. Like, Siler is, like, he's like freaking Sherlock Holmes from the BBC. He ain't interested in Chica's lady. He's interested in his own damn thing. Like, he's off in his own little world. Okay? You ain't seducing him. Unless you're Irene Adler, okay?
Yeah.
that you are not.
Yeah.
Anyway, he gets angry at her, and then she's like, you know, you're so unappreciative. You wouldn't be breathing if it wasn't for me. So Siler gets mad, but she tells him that the company will help when his chest heals, and then he'll be able to use his abilities. And I'm just like, it makes no sense at this point.
And is it the company that's trying to save him? She works for someone who wants him back alive or something like that. And at this point, I can't even remember if it was actually the company.
I think it was a random faction of it.
Yeah, that. Okay.
It's like, why would you save Siler? Like, if Candace was working for Linderman, who really wanted to stop Siler.
Because, like, even in one of the webisodes, they've got another company, but it's just kind of known as the organization, which kind of is in one of them, but then nothing else is said about it. It's like another rival, and it never was specifically said that it wasn't specifically given another name. And so, yeah, it's just this whole side plot with Candace just kind of confused me because I can't remember.
They never really got back around to it because obviously, like, that's the thing about this season. It's just like, ugh. She like starts doing these weird little like sexual fantasy like starters, little prompts.
Yeah.
And, like, my favorite thing in the whole episode, she turns into Siler. And she's like, or maybe you're more into yourself. And I'm like, that's right up his alley. He goes, I underestimated you. You are going to help me. You're going to help me get my powers back, starting with yours. So he knocks her the hell out, and then he pulls like a shard from Betty's head, and then we see what she really looks like.
And that's confirmed. Well, it was confirmed really in the comics. So yeah.
Yeah, so he's like, that's a shame, trying to pretend to be something that you're not. And I'm like, wait, whoa, are they like fat shaming? Or, I mean, it was kind of brutal.
All this coming from a guy who calls himself by an alter ego of Siler, like trying to be something you're not. So yeah.
So he tries to concentrate and use her powers, but he can't do it. And then, like, he's like, I don't have power. What the hell? And then he like stumbles outside and he finds himself in a jungle, like he's on an episode of The Prisoner. Like, really?
Or an episode of Lost.
Exactly. I like you, heroes, but you're not lost, okay? Anyway, we cut to Peter receiving a tattoo, and I literally remember thinking, if he self-heals, obviously that tattoo is gonna heal. And, well, I was kind of... So yeah, they're giving him the family crest tattoo, and he's drinking a drink, and Ricky tells Peter that he knows now he's one of them, and, you know, we have no secrets, so here's your box. Caitlin's like, you're gonna open it? And, like, they have some stupid doe-eyed talk that I just totally, my mind glazes over.
And he stupidly just doesn't open the box, which is, I'm sorry, even if I had a good thing going in a really bad Irish town, I'm not saying it's really bad because I quite like Cork, but you know, just with really bad accents. Even if I had a thing going there with someone, I'd still want to know more about myself, and he just doesn't open the box because he's Peter, and he's an idiot.
I guess I just want to bring this up. The thing that ticks me off the most about Heroes, I guess, in some kind of really irrational way, is that no lady on the show had good chemistry with him except for Hayden Panettiere. I'm just saying. And it was supposed to... It just ticks me off to no end because every single lady on the show that he gets involved with are annoying as hell. Every last one of them. And I never felt anything between them. So anyway, yeah, they kiss and the tattoo, the symbol, the mysterious symbol, appears and then fades away. Cut to Claire and Wes sitting on a beach talking about their abilities. And she says, yeah, of course I feel pain. And then he pokes her, and I'm just this was just atrocious. But then, like, she notices a mark on his neck, the same mark that Ted Sprague had, along with Matt and a couple other people. And then he talks about how when he lived in St. Louis, how one day he just kind of lost a whole day, and all he remembered was a man with horn-rimmed glasses looking at him like he was an animal. Yeah. And then Claire's like, damn it! Those horn-rimmed glasses were mine.
And then that's when it feels a bit soap opera-y as well, because then you've got the kind of hiding of the secret of the boyfriend from the father and the father from the boyfriend, because you don't want either of them to find out about the other. That felt so...
Oh, Claire, how do you always get yourself into these situations?
Exactly.
We cut to Mohinder, who's studying something under a microscope, and Bob's like, I got another vial for you. And Mohinder's like, yes, Bob. And then Bob gets a phone call, and then Mohinder makes a call to HRG. And Bob is actually on the phone with Nikki, and she's asking if she can be cured. And he goes, of course, but of course you have to do something for us. And I'm like, of course. Yeah. You can't do it out of the goodness of your heart. So Mohinder's stumbling around trying to find these paintings, and he eventually does. And it's really funny because HRG is trying to calm him, and he's like, it's good. As long as I'm alive, you got nothing to worry about. And Mohinder's like, well, that's what I'm worried about. Because, you see, this series, I only see the 8th one. And, well, here, let me send you a JPEG file.
What did they call it before? A digital copy? Wasn't that what...
Anyway, then we see the picture, and it's a picture of Bennett laying dead with his cracked glasses and a couple kissing in the background. We obviously assume that it's Claire and Wes. Just as, Noah's in his little man cave den thing, he sees Claire looking at him, and she's just like, I know what you did to
she
Wes.
Looks...
And then he's like, I know what you're going to do to me. And they just have that revenge look and bitch face of doom.
I know, right? She looks so evil at this point. Like, even more evil than when she kind of knew everything in the first season. Like, here she just looks properly like evil, and maybe that's why they tried to do it in, like, season 3? Maybe they tried to give her a bit of an edge in season 3. Maybe that's where that came from, but who knows?
I mean, you just can't buy it from a little tiny little cute cat Hayden. I'm sorry. I mean, I know a lot of pretty girls that are like mean girl evil, but not like full on domination of the world. So that was a interesting way to end the episode, I think. I always kind of like when we end on that like duel off between Claire and HRG.
But it's also exactly kind of like, well, not exact. Well, it is. It's like the first vision of, not the vision, but the first like picture of the bomb exploding. You kind of know where you're going now from the Isaac paintings, which is a theme that would carry on a lot throughout the series. But yeah.
All right, time for some trivia.
Okay, so Zachary Quinto, this is his first credit as a main character, despite being introduced 24 episodes previously and appearing in 15. The rogue in which Maya and Alejandro escape has a California license plate and a logo for Costa Verde High School on the bumper, which may indicate that may be Claire's stolen rogue. And this is confirmed in the graphic novel, The Rogue. The scene...
Which was a bonus issue.
The scene in which Caitlin and Peter discuss Peter's identity box is continued and deepened in the graphic novel Petrified Lightning, which is the graphic novel. Hiro defeats several of Whitebeard's men. He calls it the Battle of 12 Swords, which was mythologized in the online documentary Sword Saint. Wes mentions that a man in horn-rimmed glasses abducted him, when he was younger, and there's a graphic novel called Special, which tells the story of that abduction, which isn't for this one, it's for a little bit later on in the series. And
Oh, I guess we have to talk about the stupid graphic
oh
novel.
no, we can let's do the stupid let's do the ratings first, eh?
Okay, cool beans.
Uh
Um, you can go first.
no, you go first. You go first.
I'm struggling between a B minus and a C plus. Like, I like this episode, but like because we get a few surprises, and it's like, oh, this has the potential to be something. But everything that did, kind of like in retrospect, which is why it gets the C plus. I guess I'm just gonna go ahead and say C plus. Nothing really panned out from a lot of this stuff, so it's just like, and it was recapping. You were totally right. It's so much exposition and getting like we're in episode 3. We're just now finding out what's up with Nikki and Micah. I mean, not that I didn't like the reprieve from not having to see them, but still, it's like Hannibal. They just refuse to tell us what actually happened.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree. I'm gonna go with a C plus. I'm probably even battling between a C plus and a C because you're kind of right. Like stuff happens, but it's never really confirmed, or like stuff that does happen kind of falls by the wayside later on. And yeah, it's just even though we get Micah and even though we get the Sanderses back, we still have had 2 episodes of the Herrera Rizzes. So yeah, and you know they never really could figure out what they were doing with them, which kind of ticked me off a little bit as well because it was a decent character. Like I'm sure the characters could have been decent a bit more, or at least had a bit more play in the series, but they always have and they always will feel like filler characters who didn't really serve any purpose. Like you could have at least padded out, not padded out, but you could have like elongated the story by just taking them out and giving like some of the episode a bit more time to breathe because you weren't having to fill extra time in with the Herrerases. So yeah, I'll go with that. Kind of lines or iconic moments.
Let's do lines. There wasn't
Yeah.
that many. I guess I'm gonna go with. So if I get you your box, you'll get me mine. Who doesn't like a good double line comedy, right?
I don't really have anything. I think it's just I can really more go on to like scenes, because like with
Okay.
the lines, I don't really have any specific lines that I really remember from this episode, and I only watched it like about 2 hours ago. So yeah, I'm gonna go with the ending because you can never beat a hero's ending because they were always really good at that, and I think like the HRG and Claire just looking at each other, both having their own opinion on the other one, knowing what they did or what they're going to do, was just a great kind of ending for it. So yeah, how about you?
I actually really like the introduction of Nana because
Yeah,
obviously who plays Nana, and I was like really excited because they gave George Takei something pretty
yeah,
awesome to do, even though they kind of cut him short. So I was really like, and even though they didn't do anything with her in retrospect, I still kind of just respect that
yeah,
choice.
yeah, yeah.
What about iconic moments?
I'm gonna go with the painting because obviously you kind of know where it's going from that, and you have your ideas of where it's going to go and how it's going to happen, but it doesn't play out that way, or obviously it does. We'll see. But yeah, how about you?
I agree with that one, but of course, I love my 2 angry dads kind of grumbling, grousing in the kitchen. Matt's like, I don't have time to babysit you and Molly. And he's like, somebody tell me when they haven't had their sleep. And then Molly just comes in and makes everything better by giving him a hug. Those are just moments that I always remember because they're just so damn
Yeah.
cute.
So we'll go on to Petrified Lightning. Yeah, why not? Why not? There's nothing really much to this. It's essentially like a Irish fairy tale type thing, like kind of the way that Sword Saint and like it's kind of the way that Hiro tells the stories of Kensei, but it's more Caitlin telling Peter a story about this Irish fairy tale, and it helps him overcome like his kind of his gives him a way to understand how to use his powers. And that is really all it is. There's not even any trivia about it, in fact, apart from the fact that it's continuing a scene on from Kindred, and it's like
But do you know what's funny about this though now? Because now that the Whispers are out and the Foglerite is like the Petrified Lightning's a thing.
Okay.
Isn't that weird?
No,
you haven't watched?
I haven't.
I'm
not gonna. No, it's all right.
You discovered that in episode like I think you. I thought you said you watched.
I was gonna
it.
watch it. No, it's fine. I'm not a big fan. I don't really mind about spoilers and the like, so yeah, it's fine.
It's like I told you, it's like heroes are crap. Like everything is intertwined, and everybody like has something to do with somebody else.
God!
I was just like, oh my.
Speaking about like it's all like heroes is having everything to do with each other. The amount of times that they say the words "it's all connected" in the next episode is so like it has to be added on to like the list in terms of the drinking game because it happens so much in the next episode. But we'll get to that.
Yeah. This particular issue was written by Christine Boylan and the art was by Michael Gados. The behind the scenes Easter egg thingy was an image of Katie Carr and Milo Ventimiglia, and I'm like,
is that
dude? Why does that chick look so much like Danielle Panabaker? It just bothers. Yeah.
There's nothing else really much to talk about.
Well, then I guess it's time for some shameless plugs and self-promotion.
Yay! Okay, so if you have any thoughts on the Heroes episodes, Primatech episodes, or questions about the show, or for our hosts, you can email us at primatechfiles@gmail.com. You can listen to us on nearly every available place that you can listen to podcasts. You can find us on Stitcher and iTunes. Just search the word Primatech Files, and remember on iTunes to download, subscribe, rate, and review to help people find us. You can check us out on our Libsyn, which is primatechfiles.libsyn.com, or on SoundCloud. You just favourite Southgate Media Group. Speaking of Southgate Media Group, you can find them on iTunes for more podcasts on TV and general pop culture, and their website, southgatemediagroup.com, to learn more about the host, keep up to date with the podcast, and read weekly blogs. You can find us on our Tumblr, primatechfiles.tumblr.com, and our facebook.com/primatechfiles. We live tweet 2 episodes every Saturday. Follow Primatech Files on Twitter to find out which episodes, and use the hashtag PrimatechFiles during the live tweet to follow the conversation. We've just finished episode 3, and on that we had the following people tweeting, retweeting, or faving anything. It was Hiro Mashahashis, Reika Club, Kereiko, Camille616, Fierce_Deity_X, Soft_Guitar60, Sinzia667, Demetria Mills3, Mr. Man92, Skylar Rathis, Shiendi, and Mike Schmidt 09. You can also find my writing at quanmagazine.com and thepeoplesmovies.com, and you can find most of my writings at tvbinges.com for all your binge watching needs and to create your own TV binges. And you can find my Twitter at RickyJDiaz, that's RICKYJDIAZ, or Z if you're American. Lilith?
You guys can find me on Twitter at Lilith Hellfire. You can find me on Tumblr at lilithhellfire.tumblr.com. And of course, be sure to check out my blog, which is dedicated to comic book news and pop culture junkies alike, littlepopcultureghost.blogspot.com. Take us out of here, Ricky!
Download the podcast, save the world.